everyone, it's Sevi. Shields have always been a very useful defensive utility in many types of combat-oriented games, and Genshin is no exception. For some, they might be able to get by without it, but for others, it's a must-have on the team, especially with certain characters. And now, the most recent addition to our shielder family is Layla, a 4-star cryo shielder who does the job pretty well. However, there are some aspects about shields that are kind of weird or misunderstood due to Genshin's own poorly worded descriptions and explanations. So in this quick video, I'll be discussing and clarifying certain aspects about Genshin's shield mechanics to help you understand how to make the most out of this valuable utility. Let's begin. First, let's recap the basic properties of shields. A shield has a health, or more technically, a damage absorption amount that it can take before it breaks. Its health scales from a stat of the character that is generating the shield, which is typically their max HP or defense stat. Alternatively, there are crystallized shields whose health scales based on the level and elemental mastery stat of the geo character that created it. Then there are certain bonuses that make the shield's health increase. Shields also have increased elemental damage absorption against enemy attacks of the same type. So a cryo shield like Layla's can absorb more damage from cryo attacks. The only exception here are geo shields, which have increased elemental damage absorption against all types of elemental and physical attacks. Of course, we want to make shields as thick as needed to give sufficient protection. One way we do this is by using equipment that increases the stat the shield scales from. If Zhongli's shield scales on HP, naturally, we'd recommend giving him perhaps a 2-piece tenacity set for the 20% HP bonus or a black tassel. However, one question I regularly encounter when talking about building shield supports is, why not use the 2-piece Retracing Bolide, which gives 35% shield strength? Shouldn't it always be a recommended option for shield support characters to increase their shield health? At first glance, it seems very straightforward that that's how it should work. A shield strength bonus sounds like it increases, well, their shield strength, supposedly resulting in thicker shields for your team. Unfortunately, that's not how it really works, and it has a tendency to confuse newer players, because I think Genshin doesn't do a good enough job of explaining shield strength's effect. And it's one of those things that you might only find out by having to actually search for it or by doing very methodical tests. So what does it actually do? To start, you can see in the stat page that each character has a shield strength bonus stat, which is set at 0% by default. If I equip a Bolide set, the equipped user's shield strength stat increases accordingly, but of course my teammates don't get any added shield strength because they're not holding the set. Using my example as Diona, we can easily demonstrate that the Bolide set actually has an effect when she equips it. On the left is a shield test without the Bolide, and she will take exactly 12 missile hits from the Ruined Guards. After everything, you can see that her remaining HP is at 9,230. Then on the right, this is the exact same scenario, but now the 2-piece Retracing Bolide set is active on her. After also taking 12 missile hits, you'll see that her remaining HP is now resting at around 12,400. Since we know how much damage each missile does, we can add up how many missiles hit and consider the difference of the damage number of the missile that broke the shield. With quick maths, we can see that the shield without Bolide absorbed about 9,000 damage, but the shield with Bolide was able to absorb about 12k damage. If we divide the damage absorbed by the shield with Bolide by the amount without, we get 1.35 or 135%, meaning that with the Bolide set, Diona's shield actually was able to absorb 35% more damage. So it seems like the Bolide set works as advertised. But now let's do the same test with Diona generating the exact same shield. The difference will be that another character, in this case Barbara, will be the one taking the damage. Diona has no Bolide set equipped on the left clip, while the right had her with the 2-piece set. This result seems odd. How did Barbara have the same amount of HP left on both Diona with and without a Bolide set equipped? This means that with Barbara, the shield took the exact same damage in both scenarios, but that is contrary to Diona's test when she took the damage and we saw Bolide protecting her better. What really happened is Diona's increased shield strength only affected how the shield performed on Diona herself, since she was the one with the shield strength bonus, and so it wouldn't have any effect on Barbara. The thing is, shield strength doesn't inherently make the shield have more health, but rather it reduces the incoming damage that the shield will take from enemy hits. However, only the character with the additional shield strength stat will get the corresponding damage reduction effect. That's why the Retracing Bolide can reduce incoming damage damage for the equipped character, but it doesn't carry over to other characters even if they're protected by the same shield. This is also why you'll notice that some shield strength enhancing effects are worded in a particular way. Take a look at these two artifact sets, the Bolide set and Tenacity set. They both have shield strength bonus effects, but there is one major difference as to how they work for your team and why one set actually works as a shield support set. Do you notice the difference? The one that's obvious is that the Tenacity needs to be procced by skill hits. However, the more important difference is that the Tenacity actually applies the shield strength buff to all party members. And this is the key difference to why a shielder holding 4-piece Tenacity works for your entire team, while a shielder using Bolide has no effect for your teammates. And this isn't just confined to artifact sets. Notice as well there are character effects that enhance shield strength that apply to all teammates. For instance, Zhongli states that fortified characters, meaning any teammate protected by the shield, gets increased shield strength. Another is that Layla's passive buffs the shield strength of a character under the effect of the Curtain of Slumber, meaning also any party member you switch into, not just Layla herself. But there are shield strength effects that only apply to the character using the equipment. Like the Bolide set, other weapons that do that are the Golden Majesty weapon series. Note that nothing in it says that it will affect other party members, which means that only the user gets its shield strength bonus. This is the main reason why it's not recommended to put such equipment on a character that makes shields, unless that character is also meant to be the active character. You may also have heard that the Bolide set is a good set on Yoimiya, and that makes sense. Yoimiya is the one on field taking the damage, meaning that the 2-piece shield strength bonus effect works for her, even though she did not create the shield. Another important note about shield strength is that it actually does not snapshot. Rather, shield strength has to be maintained or continuously reapplied for the characters to enjoy its damage reduction benefits. That's what makes Layla an ideal user of the Tenacity set. She can continuously refresh the 4-piece effect with her skills shooting stars, which conveniently tracks enemies to hit them. Compare this to Zhongli, who this set was originally made for. He has to rely on his pillar's pulses for him to continuously reapply the 4-piece buff. However, we know that if enemies move around a lot, then his pillars can't hit them, and it's very likely that the Tenacity's shield strength buff can have erratic downtimes. Hopefully, this clears up any confusion as to how shield strength works and why certain equipment with a shield strength bonus like Bolide or Summit Shaper aren't recommended for shield supports. Now, this is the best time to mention another stat that seems like it doesn't affect shields, but in reality, it's still another important stat that determines how strong a shield feels on your character. Let's go back to our first example with Barbara and Diona, who are both level 90. You'll notice that when Diona took the hits from the Ruin Guards, each one dealt around 1700. However, when Barbara took the same hits, it dealt less damage. The reason why is their different defense stats. A character with a higher defense stat will take less incoming damage than a character with a lower defense stat. That's why high defense characters like Noelle can feel way tankier than other characters with low to mid defense stats. However, this still actually factors in calculating how much incoming damage will be dealt to a shield. The defense stat still applies to the incoming damage even for the shield's damage absorption. This means that the same shield on a high defense character can feel stronger simply because their shield is taking less damage from hits. For example, Noelle generates the same shield for herself and for Barbara. However, it took more hits for it to break with Noelle, whereas Barbara's broke sooner. And that's because of Noelle's high defense stat reducing the incoming damage while shielded. There are also other ways to reduce incoming damage. For example, Xingqiu's rain swords give a damage reduction effect. This actually helps your shield tank more damage too, since the damage reduction applies for the shield as well. So yeah, you'd think that shield effects are simple enough, but there's a lot going on outside itself that factors into how strong it can be. There are also some weird inconsistencies in the way certain abilities related to shields are worded. If you look at these descriptions, they all actually refer to the same thing, which is Elemental Damage Absorption Bonus. However, their phrasing varies from one ability to another. On Thoma and Beido's, it's worded as absorbing more effectively, versus Diona and Layla's more technically termed Damage Absorption Bonus. And then you have Diona's Hold skill, which increases the damage absorption by 75%, or Layla's C1, which increases it by 20%. These are calculated differently from the Elemental Damage Absorption Absorption Bonuses, because these are actual multipliers to increase the shield's health, whereas the previous examples of elemental damage absorption don't increase the shield's health, but rather reduce the incoming damage of that particular element. I think it would be nice if these descriptions can be properly streamlined and defined in-game, so that players can better understand how shields and their related bonus effects actually work. All in all, these are factors that will contribute to the effectiveness of a shield on a particular character. I hope this clears up any misconceptions you may have had regarding shields, shield strength, and so on. If you are trying to determine or compare how good a shield is, just keep these various factors in mind. Let me know in the comments if you usually play with a shielder and who, or if this video helped you out. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already, and I will see you all soon. Take care!